Hello, everyone. My name is Elijah Hart,
Hello, I'm Alberto Rodriguez.
and this is our capstone presentation. So, for my section, I'll be detailing my progression through a series of professional development courses. The goal was to move beyond just making games and instead build a T shaped skill set, one that anchors high level engine mastery in the fundamental graphics, programming, and math that powers the industry. I started this phase by taking a Coursera certification focused on the fundamentals of graphics programming, which prepared me to build a custom 2D drawing application to demonstrate my new skills. The coursework involved discovering essential concepts like setting up coordinate spaces, utilizing underlying graphics libraries like GDI Plus, and designing an intuitive UI to enhance the overall user experience. This learning culminated in my final project, a 2D drawing tool built entirely from the ground up. By implementing the math behind the coordinate transformations and handling canvas clipping for elements that move off screen, the application successfully supports many of the complex visual operations and manipulations you would typically find in modern media editors today. The second phase moved to Udemy, where I focused on industry standard systems architecture in the Unreal Engine 5 and C++ course. My primary project was Battle Blaster, a tank game where I moved away from engine templates and architected a custom player controller and input mapping system from the ground up. For the combat, I implemented physics-based ballistics using vector math to calculate real-time trajectories for the projectiles of the tank. Beyond the physics, I also explored AI logic. While the tank game used a streamlined function for the enemy AI engagement, I expanded on this in my third person shooter project, where I implemented complex behavior trees and sensing components to create NPCs that can navigate environments and react dynamically to player movement. This phase was critical for mastering both hard physics and logic driven gameplay systems. The final phase of my project was porting these engineering principles into Roblox Studio. This required a shift from C style languages to Luau's event driven model. I developed a suite of experiences, including a story game and a simulator, with a heavy focus on multiplayer persistence. I utilized Roblox data stores to manage player data across sessions, ensuring the game state was saved globally. And this final stage synthesized my journey, proving that the state driven logic from Unreal and the math from my graphics foundations are universal skills that scale across any platform or engine. And with that, I'll be handing it off to my colleague Alberto so he can tell you about the work he did.
Hello, everybody. We're going to start off with a background of Oracle Java certification. Java certification within Oracle is a heavily industry recognized credential, not only for multiple companies, but also for your own resume. It just validates the developer's knowledge in Java itself and that level of Java tools. At the moment, I've been working on Java Oracle SE17. Right now, there is 21 out, but at this very moment, companies are recognizing 17 as their main priority for hiring. Next. So the objective really while working with Java Oracle was kind of getting a study template done. And doing that was kind of difficult when I first started off as I wanted to study with Oracle zone course, but I found myself struggling with that. But with that being said, when I first made this plan, my goal was to strengthen my own confidence with Java. I've been working with Java throughout college for since I've ever started, but as I went on, I felt myself falling in love with the language more so than Python and C++. So with this Java Oracle certification, I kind of felt more of a pathway to build that relationship with Java even further. Again, that extends college. I wanted to learn more than what I learned in the classroom. And within doing this course, I've definitely learned a lot more than I could have within the classroom. As I am a software engineer, concentrate, I kind of felt myself more motivated for this Oracle Java certification because it worked with backend systems and Android development. something we have touched upon in class, but this Java Oracle certification kind of allowed me to dive deeper into what we've done in class, especially with the projects in software engineering classes. It allowed me to make apps and personal projects a lot more easy with tools that benefited me and make shortcuts. Um, Obviously, one of the big motivations was my favoritism towards Java. I've touched upon Python and C++, plus plus, and a lot of my colleagues feel the same way, where we all have biases upon our languages, but mine felt deeply for Java. One of the huge problems was the timing. I believe that this course would be a lot shorter than it was. That being said, there's 22 modules, which has 106 topics. Each of these topics roughly range from 10 to around an hour long videos. For each video, I usually spend around 5 minutes of each video writing code and going back and reviewing that new topic, which heavily stretched the amount of time I was taking for each course. Another problem I was facing was my balance of school, work, and life. At the time, I was working two jobs. One of them was a 40-hour job. So I decided to cut back on one of these jobs to make time for class and this capstone. Passive study was definitely not enough. If I didn't spend more than around 3 hours at a time with each session, I would lose that concept completely. So I found myself needing a space to really focus on the courses and kind of not have myself fall asleep while working on them. Burnout was a huge problem during the semester. Again, I had around 40 hours of work um, before quitting. So having that kind of be a part of my work school life was difficult. Leaving it was definitely necessary, but also finding ways to maintain that burnout was also necessary. I speak to my mentors about this problem, and the best way I could combat it was finding new ways to meditate and like leave my station and kind of take a breath. So again, my original plan was to work with Oracle and Oracle's own course, but I found myself um, seeing that kind of as an impossibility later on. But when I first started this plan, I did want to work with Oracle as they do offer a course for their own exam. I did also see that there is a OCA certification study book. This goes through the exam very heavily. It's one of the first things I saw when researching this project. It's very easy to obtain the book. There's PDFs and also physical copies, so that wasn't too difficult. Mock exams was also one of the key ideas I had going into this certification. I wanted to be able to practice the exam before taking it just to get my chances up. Um, Definitely taking notes during the courses was one of my plans. Didn't realize how much notes I would take, but it kind of went well in the long run because I could look back and check and use those notes I've made on my personal tests with IntelliJ. I would write IntelliJ projects just to make sure I got the code right and the new topics understood. It was very helpful to have IntelliJ in the back of my pocket. AI was another tool I would like to mention. Whenever there was a topic within the book that seemed too complex, I used AI to break it down. In regards to that solution of Oracle as an impossibility, one of the reasons it is an impossibility for my case was to obtain that course with Oracle. It was a $5,000 fee to buy the course, which allowed you to have 3 attempts at the quiz, but a $5,000 course and quiz was kind of an impossibility with my price range. So I found myself looking for third-party sources. Luckily, I found a um, source called Udemy. It's a place where you can study. They had a course regarding the exam, so I decided to take that. Um, but here's my workflow. I used learn, take notes, code, debug, review, and self-check. I would go back and make sure I got these concepts with IntelliJ. And then, as I mentioned, I made time by leaving my job to focus on the classes I had this semester and also this capstone. Here are the methods I used. Again, I use Udemy Java Prep. Here's the exact course I took. It allows you to take it covers two different topics. and courses, but we'll be focusing on the 829. Again, I use IntelliJ. I use it to write, run, and test code. Came in very handy, especially with my knowledge of IntelliJ beforehand and within the classrooms. And then the OCA study guidebook. I used Udemy and the book very closely together whenever there was a topic I didn't understand. While reading the book, videos very much covered it and kind of helped me out in a personal aspect, as there was kind of a professor going through each topic. So it kind of felt like a classroom in a way. For my deliverables and then changes, again, I changed to that third-party course, but I really underestimated how much time I would need. As mentioned, it felt like for every 5 minutes of video, I would spend around an hour to 2 hours trying to understand the code with IntelliJ and go back on my notes to make sure each concept was understood. It was quite difficult to kind of cram so much Java information at one time. But for my deliverables, I think the best options I have are, of course, a submission of the Oracle exam, which has been bought, but I'm kind of using a lot of mock exams at the moment just to make sure I have the highest chance. As when I bought the exam, it wasn't too cheap, so I want to make sure I get my money's worth when I get the exam turned in, and a notebook with all my handwritten notes that I took while going through the course and while going through the book. I might turn in two notebooks. It's pretty big, but we'll see how it goes.
Great. Thank you so much for watching.